Money FM 89.3, best of weekends.
I'd like to focus right now on the Malay Heritage Centre and a lot of different programs they have going on right now, and focusing on the many aspects of olden times in Singapore, including the fact that there were diamond cutters here in Singapore, a very active community down in that part of town in what they call the Banjar community. Joining us now on Facebook Live is Nasri Shah, the curator at the Malay Heritage Centre, and joining us from the center right now. And Nasri, good to see you. Thanks for being with us on Weekend Mornings.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
And tell us about, first of all, give us an overview of the Malay Heritage Centre. I was there years ago. I have not been there, I'll be honest with you, in a bunch of years. Tell us what is generally going on there.
Well, the Malay Heritage Centre is a gallery as well as a programming centre. That's one of 3 heritage institutions that's run by the National Heritage Board. And so together with our fellow heritage institutions, the Indian Heritage Centre in Little India, as well as the Sun Yat-sen Nanyang Memorial Hall, we each present the history of our different ethnic communities in Singapore through a variety of programs, workshops, and exhibitions like the one that I'm standing in right now.
And this, the Heritage Centre, or this area, I should say, is such an old and historic area that, of course, Singaporeans would know about, but maybe some who are listening who are not native to Singapore might not know just how important the Kampung Glam area is. Can you give us a little bit of perspective on that?
Sure. So, Kampung Glam today, some people might be more familiar with it for its restaurants, its shopping haunts along Haji Lane. The history of Kampung Glam is actually not too far off from its reality today, in that Kampung Glam has always been a site of commerce, of trade, partly because this was one of the first port of calls that migrants, particularly from around the region, in Indonesia as well as Malaysia, actually made home when they first arrived in Singapore. And so you would actually encounter different pockets in Kampung Glam that were segmented according to the different sort of ethnic communities that sort of lived around there. So you would have an area of Busra Street today, which was once known as Kampung Haji, because of all the, named after Haji, because of all the Hajj pilgrims that would live around there, and so on and so forth. And it was also a site of residence, so people would live there but also run their businesses there as well.
Yeah. Talking with Nasri Shah, the curator at the Malay Heritage Centre in Kampung Glam. And how has the area been doing because of the pandemic and the circuit breaker? Did we see restaurants and businesses go out of business there, or have people been managing to hold on?
Well, the community here is very close-knit. The Malay Heritage Centre is in very good relationship with businesses and the stakeholders here, and very much involved them in all our programming. Of course, it has been a little bit quieter compared to pre-circuit breaker days because of the fact that we don't have as many tourists as we had before, but it's actually been quite heartening because we do see a lot of locals still coming here for dinner, just to hang out, catch over some drinks and things like that. So things are picking up, and I'm hoping that this exhibition will give another reason for people to come back to the area.
Absolutely. And part of the, as you mentioned, the Malay Heritage Centre there is looking at the different subgroups of Malay culture in Singapore. One of them is the Banjar community, and I had not heard of this before we started talking about doing this segment. Tell us about that community.
Sure. So I'm actually in the first section of the gallery, and the exhibition is spread across 2 galleries. Banjar community is actually the 5th community that we've organized an exhibition with, and previous communities have included the Minang community, the Boyan community, some of which you may be more familiar with, for example. The Banjar community is arguably thought to be the smallest sub-ethnic Malay community in Singapore. The name Banjar comes from the Banjar Regency in South Kalimantan, which is also home to the larger South Kalimantan area. And a lot of Banjar people in Singapore today do trace their origins to various cities in South Kalimantan.
What were they known for?
Yeah, so Banjarmasin or Banjar Regency, along with the other cities, the city itself is known as the City of 1,000 Rivers, and that's because they're very well connected to the larger sort of ocean maritime trade. So a lot of them actually found their livelihood based on peddling raw materials, including, as you mentioned earlier, raw diamond, because they have one of the largest natural deposits of diamond in the region. That's right. Huh. So when we had the opportunity to go there to do our research, you do find that the diamonds are significantly cheaper than you would get somewhere else. So if you were looking to make your own jewelry, that would be one spot you wanted to go to.
Head to Kalimantan, huh?
That's right, yes. So we have here, I'm trying to get a good angle for this.
Yeah, just turn the camera whatever way you need to show us whatever you need to show us.
Sure. So we have right here a census. That's a census of the population of Singapore. These were taken fairly annually up until a century ago. And in this census, you find that actually Singapore had one of the largest Banjar population back in 1911 compared to Penang and Malacca. And that number has actually dwindled quite a bit. So in 1990, when a census was taken back then, only 12 people identified as Banjar. So that's quite a significant decrease in the population that identifies as Banjar.
Yeah. Besides the diamond trade, you mentioned they were traders of goods and things. As they found their way to Singapore, were they sort of importer-exporter types, or did they do other things as well within the community?
Yes, so in response to the first question, some of them did continue the diamond business, but they probably didn't play such a front-facing role. They probably established their own businesses and then relied on their contacts in Banjarmasin to sort of import diamonds for them. But some of them, because of the wealth that they amassed from trading in diamonds, they actually branched out into real estate instead. So actually, some of the roads in Singapore are actually named after some people in the Banjar community.
Do you remember which ones?
One of them is Jalan Jamal, which is located somewhere in the east.
Yeah.
So that actually was an ancestor, or one of our community contributors, Shiku Ghazali. Yes.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Huh. What else can we see at the Malay Heritage Centre? And I'm speaking with Nasri Shah, who's the curator there at the Malay Heritage Centre. What else is on display for this Banjar community?
Sure. So since we're on the topic of diamonds, I'd like to show you this little specimen right here. I'm not sure if you can see, it's fairly small, but that is actually a replica of the Banjarmasin diamond. Now, the Banjarmasin diamond was actually a 77-carat diamond that belonged to Sultan Adam, which was one of the sultans of Banjarmasin. But in 1859, because of the ensuing Banjarmasin War, the Dutch East Indies government actually took some of the royal regalia that belonged to Sultan Adam, including the 77-carat diamond. Now, when it was taken and it arrived in Rotterdam, curiously, the carat of the diamond actually reduced, and we now only have 40 carats of the diamond left, and that's in the Netherlands. So we would have loved to bring it to Singapore, but unfortunately we couldn't. So the best thing that we have is a replica of it, but we did try to follow the specifications that were provided by the museum, and this is sort of what you get. I'm not sure if you can see because of the reflection.
Yeah, we can see it. I mean, it's big. Yeah, it's definitely something that. Too bad it's not the real one. So, what happened to the other 30 carats or so? Did they split? Did somebody cut the diamond and make off with the rest of it?
Your guess is as good as mine. It is war booty in a way, so I'm sure whoever did what they did with the diamond wouldn't want for it to be known today.
Yeah. What else, as you're looking around, Nasri, what else can we see in that exhibition there at the Malay Heritage Centre?
Sure. So I'm actually walking right now to the second gallery. So as I mentioned, the exhibition is spread across two galleries. Now in this second gallery, we focus more on the Urang Banjar in Singapore, how they sort of localized and adapted their culture in Singapore in tandem with the circumstances here. And some of the things that are contributed include things that were made by the community members today in commemoration of their history and their heritage. So what I'd like to show here actually is these two house models. Now, I mentioned that one of the sites that were named after the Banjar community is Jalan Jamal, and that's in the east. And in fact, a lot of the Banjar members actually settled in the east. I'm not sure why. A lot of them sort of relocated to the east. And this particular house was modeled after a childhood home of one of our community members in Lorong Marikan, which is today located along Sims Avenue. Now, the remarkable thing about this house model, although it looks like a typical house model, the interesting thing is that a contributor, Mr. Ghazali, actually reconstructed this from memory. So he didn't actually have any photographs of his home to use as reference. And he basically relied on his memories of growing up in particular spots in the house where he used to play. And he basically reconstructed the entire house based on piecing together those different memories. And so when he was sharing the house model with us, he would talk about how underneath the house, the floorboards of the house, because it's a raised house, it used to rain a lot back then and it would used to flood. And he talked about how he and his siblings, as well as his childhood friends, would sort of make little makeshift boats and then sort of get on those boats and while it was flooding and sort of get under the house and pretend that they were sort of little Banjar travelers themselves.
Oh, that's great. And that does really give you a sense of what the original structures look like. Where was that community based? Were they based in the Kampung Glam area or over toward the river, or where were they when they originally settled in, like you said, the early 1900s?
So they were scattered in different parts of Singapore. As I mentioned, some of them did sort of eventually settle in the east, but there was a sizable Banjar community in Kampung Glam itself, precisely because of the diamond trade. And actually, two of our contributors, Farida and Fauzia Jamal, they actually grew up in a house along Jalan Pisang, which is where the Haja Maimuna restaurant is today. And they actually remember growing up seeing their father making diamond jewelry and polishing diamond and cutting diamond. And the location worked because there were jewelers in the area. So what he would do is he would cut and polish these diamonds and then supply them to the jewelers that were in the area. Yeah,
very interesting. And so tell us about some of the specifics about going to the Malay Heritage Centre. When is it open? How can people reach? Do you have to make an appointment to go? Some of those things related to COVID-19.
So you don't have to make an appointment to visit our exhibition. We are open from Tuesdays to Sundays, and we're closed on Mondays. We're closed on Mondays, and we're open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So all you need to do is come down and make yourself known to a visitor services center, and they'll be happy to assist with any queries in getting around the space and exhibition. I'd also like to mention that the exhibition is running alongside the Malay Culture Festival, or sure. Malay Culture Fest. And that is predominantly taking place online. So if you're not the sort to want to go out, you can actually experience some performances, including dances from South Kalimantan, on a website dedicated to the Malay Culture Fest.
Fantastic. What a great, interesting look at a fairly unknown part of Singapore Malay culture. Nasri Shah, curator at the Malay Heritage Centre, bringing the Urang Banjar heritage and culture of the Banjar community in Singapore to us. Thanks so much. We appreciate your time today and looking forward to getting down there and seeing the exhibition in person.
Yes, we look forward to seeing you.